President Akufo-Addo says he expects a comprehensive report with recommendations from the 9-member Commission of Inquiry constituted to inquire, recommend and specify, if required, where referendums are to be held for the creation of new regions in 6 months. The clamor for new regions featured prominently in the run-up to the 2016 general elections, with the then governing NDC promising to create additional 5 regions, whilst the then opposition MPP promised 4. At the inauguration of the commission at the Flagstaff House Thursday, the president said it is only proper he invokes provisions of the Constitution that relate to the creation of new regions, following the advice he received from the Council of State.
The citizenry should ignore information or speculation being circulated on the alleged demarcation, naming or citing of regional capitals. Indeed, there have not been any predetermined regional boundaries, specific names given to any region to be created, and citing of regional capitals by my government. These are matters that are properly within the remit of the Commission and will be dealt by them and form part of their recommendations. In the event that this Commission, through its consultations with the people, comes to the conclusion that there is a need and substantial demand for the creation of new regions or alteration of regional boundaries, and required by Article 5, Clause 4 of the Constitution, to refer their recommendations to the Electoral Commission for the conduct of a referendum in the specified areas on the issues set forth by the Commission. The Electoral Commission must then conduct a referendum at which at least 50% of the persons entitled to vote cast their votes, and of the votes cast, at least 80% cast in favor of the demand for the creation of a region to succeed. At the end of the day, it is the will of the people that will determine the outcome. There exists significant evidence that the demands for the creation of new regions were not made to me alone, but also to other political leaders. It is instructive to note that in the course of the 2016 campaign of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, the main opposition party, the party pledged to facilitate the creation of 5 new regions had the party been successful at the 2016 elections. In the course of its 2016 campaign, the New Patriotic Party, NPP, the ruling party, also pledged to facilitate the creation of 4 regions. This clearly demonstrates that there is a meeting of minds of the 2 major parties on the need for the creation of new administrative regions. Indeed, one of the issues that came to the fore during the discussions at the meeting I held here at Flagstaff House with my predecessors, the 3 former presidents of the Republic, Their Excellencies Jerry John Rawlings, John Agyekum Kufuor, and John Dramani Mahama, was the substantial demands for the creation of new regions. The issue was discussed at length, and it was evident that all the past governments had also been seized with the matter over the years.
Now, there's already been concerns about the siting of regional capitals of these proposed regions, with suggestions government is seeking to put the regional capitals in areas where the party has its strongholds. But Minister for Regional Organization and Development Dan Boche, who has been explaining the processes to JoyNews' MFA Pao, says the siting of the capitals will not be left to government.
No demarcations have been drawn, no name have been given to any region, and no capital has been chosen for any reason.
Okay. Now that you talk about capital, there are issues and concerns already that it looks like you have already decided where the capitals are going to be, at least in the 4 regions. And then also it's going to be situated such that it will be in a stronghold of the NPP, for instance. Has that come to your attention?
No, not at all, not at all. One interesting thing is, as we said, we discussed earlier on, this is something that found expression in the manifestos of at least the 2 major political parties. 1, 2. And in going round, and the people we said that we have met and sensitized, we have met all members of parliament in the 4 regions. And I know, and you can always cross-check, that in the various parts of the regions, the 4 regions where the petitions came, the chiefs and people, when they meet, all people from different party persuasions are part of it. I mean, it's interesting to go and see members of parliament from different political parties all being part of the caucus of the committee prosecuting the agenda.
Let's talk about the Volta region, where I come from. In terms of where the capital will be placed, you have a map of it. I'm sure you have an idea by now.
No. Believe me, we are totally not. We are not partisan on this matter, and there will be no basis of having a preference as to where the capital will be. There will be no basis for that, and we made it clear when we made the regional House of Chiefs that there's something that they will play a major role, and so we have assured the chiefs and people. Some of them have an idea what they want to do, and that's why at times people misconstrue. Some of them, in sending their petitions, had a whole map attached to the petition, or how they think their region should look like. And then, so it came from them. It didn't come from government. But in terms of region, capital, they themselves, on their own, are discussing. But they have decided that they will not talk about that matter. To quote some of them, the child has to be born first. They will have a lot of suggestions being made to them as to maybe where a boundary should be and where a capital should be, and even the name of the region. The name of the region. People tried to bring, but again, we tried as much as possible to persuade them.
You really heard about OT region?
Yes, those who brought the petition used that word OT because
it's not been endorsed yet.
Believe that there's a river, the OT river, and therefore they believe that the region should be named after that. But that is, you cannot take it from them. They are right to suggest, because it's something that their forefathers have always wanted to have. So you can't take it from them. They are right. They even brought a map of how the new region should look at, where the boundaries should be drawn. But that is for them to petition or to request. You cannot begrudge them.
But looking at the number of hurdles that you would have to be able to surmount before this facilitation or the creation comes into being, are you sure you're able to work within the timelines that you've set for yourself?
Yes. Like I said, we started early by talking to people who have sent their petitions. We also knew that you need certain state institutions, the NCC, for example, because it's a constitutional imperative. People say they want it, and the people have to be educated, have to understand the whole thing.
In other news, President Akufo-Addo has charged Chief Justice Sufaya Kufu and the courts to ensure swift adjudication of cases involving forest degradation and ensure offenders are given punishment that are deterrent enough to end the phenomenon. He's also admonished the civilian population to rise against all forms of illegal mining and logging in their respective communities to support the Forestry Commission that is working towards ending the menace with the aim, with the ultimate aim of lessening the impact of climate change. The President was speaking at the second National Red Plus Forum held at the Accra International Conference Centre on Thursday.
What we make of our natural resources, what determines our existence. I call on all gathered here and every Ghanaian to rise up to the occasion. Farmers and local community members should not allow illegal logging and mining to continue. Security agencies on our roads, ports and borders should not look on unconcerned and allow illegal timber products just to pass without confiscation or with corrupt purpose. Most importantly, the Forest Commission should strengthen its law enforcement measures to curb illegal logging, mining, and unsustainable harvesting of forest products. To the Chief Justice and members of the judiciary, let us ensure that the fines and punishments that are pronounced on perpetrators of illegal forest activities are deterrent enough and quickly delivered and effected.
Now, the Chief Justice, Lady Shipsofaya Kufu, in her response, said there is a need for all government agencies in the entire legal regime chain, including the Forestry Commission and the security agencies, to work closely with each other if the menace of illegal logging is to be stopped.
We as a service believe that there is still a lot more that we can do to contribute to the fight against deforestation, forest degradation, and sustainable forest management, as well as other activities that cause environmental degradation in Ghana and contribute to global warming. We plan to expand, therefore, the base of specialized courts to cover all environmental issues and threats. Without doubt, a strong enforcement regime is critical to achieving the goals and objectives of Ghana's REDD+ program. Therefore, in the chain link for the enforcement and application of the entire legal regime for the preservation of our environment, every part from the forestry workers to the inspectors, to the monitors, to the security services, each has a part to play, as well as the prosecutors and the courts. And therefore, this chain must never be broken.
We're taking a break here on JoyNews Prime, but still ahead, Communications Minister insists radio stations fined by the National Communications Authority for failing to meet their statutory obligations will have to pay up in the next 6 days or be shut down.
Our law must be no respecter of persons and must be applied without fear or favor, malice or ill will.
The minority in Parliament has been trying to get the minister to back down.
Let us not engage in actions that will kill them. Let's rather support them.
But you see the NCA using the, and that Gazette 1 must be put on record, was not approved by this House.
All that and more coming up in the bulletin. Stay tuned. The mysterious killing of a 48-year-old man at Jamas in the Ashanti region has evoked memories of similar unsolved murder cases. Residents believe the manner in which the killing was carried out suggests it was done with a lot of sophistication, with no trace to help the police track the perpetrators. Correspondent Mohamed Nuruddin recounts a horrifying incident that have left bereaved families clueless on the motives of these heinous crimes.
About 3 years ago, unknown assailants brutally murdered 3 women on their farms within short distances apart. 54-year-old Rose Achia, 57-year-old Juliana Adukuma, and 61-year-old Nyanche died from machete wounds inflicted on them by the killers. Security experts described the execution of the crime as professional. Police made little or no breakthrough in their investigations and ended up calling for calm in the community in the Setre South District. A suspect was arrested and later granted bail on a condition he was mentally deranged.
Papa be a friend of Cosidonco. Cosidonco no. Wakwati na nka ne papa no okan wo nwuram ana obro no mo de be fa no call police station ana bra be fa no bonsu onso nwuram o ko twa ne sekan ana ode ko ma police for no say no anchi no mara so no antimi anchi no and what did nam kruma kutokoni minso ono so odi aba bo no nyamenkwa.
The release of Atabio brought the entire Jamasi community to a standstill amid attempted attack on the police station. Many people have been attacked and injured in the community by yet to be identified persons. On Sunday, October 1st, memories of the murder of the three women were evoked when 48-year-old Musa Yusuf was killed on his farm. He had left for the farm at 6 a.m. and was expected to return as usual at 10 a.m.
Okra so okofo na say watana say am awia bose afi na okofo no so okoti koko obeba sesie nti woko ikuna na akwada yisu na me say wonya ne ntem ko na wa ne na chi anko afi de okoye o mada tenabo oh my 11 okofo ma wonche na me fra ne phone me fra yesu adum no.
After hours of waiting with no sign of Musa returning, relatives and neighbors became suspicious and went for a search. The search party found his lifeless, mutilated body with multiple machete wounds. The case was reported to the police, and again Atabio was picked up while Musa's corpse lay in the bush pending police visit to the scene. The next day, investigators embarked on a 30-minute walk to Musa's farm. Tell them already, we have to tell them again. Tell them already, we have to tell them again. Tell them already, we have to tell them again. Them a murderer. Them a murderer. Seen them coming at me area, want to kill off the youth. No dress up in a jacket and no dress up in a tie. The deceased motorbike and other exhibits were brought along with the body, which was deposited at the morgue pending burial. The burden of bringing these cases to closure is with the law enforcement agency, whose primary role is to protect life and property.
There have been so many reported cases concerning the suspect. Once he severed a man's hand, and the man was taken to the district commander, I think the immediate past district commander. Nothing was done about this guy.
Police will not speak on record, though they promise to gather enough evidence to prosecute Atabio. He has since been remanded into prison custody to reappear on October 20th. Musa left behind a wife and 6 children. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reporting. Tell them already, we have to tell them again. Them a murderer.
Certainly a troubling story there coming from the Shanti region. Now, maize is the second largest cash crop and staple in Ghana to cocoa. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, it accounts for between 50 to 60% of the country's total cereal production. However, the absence of storage facilities exposed the produce to poison substances known as aflatoxins produced by fungi found in maize and other crops. Stakeholders are also worried about the effects of the fall armyworm devastation on long-term maize production and food security. Prince Appiah explores the concerns of farmers, the implication to food security and interventions being employed to address them in the following report.
David Ayamfo is a farmer at Edidwan in the Mampo municipality. He has over 30 years of experience in maize cultivation. His farming journey has been dogged by challenges with storage.
During the
rainy season, if you don't have anywhere to store your crops, it will spoil. He says, I cultivate 100 acres of maize without warehouse. It will develop molds, then aflatoxins set in. Mr. Ayamfo's story reflects those of many other farmers like Gordon Odro with 40 years farming behind him. He has had to reduce maize cultivation by 30% in the minor planting season due to challenges to drying his harvest.
For that long time I've been farming, the problem we had from the very beginning is still hanging on us. The problem of aflatoxin. It has been a big challenge to me. We dry it on tarpaulins whilst it's raining. You will be drying the major seasonal produce whilst the rains are coming. You can't get the time to go to the farm to continue with the minor seasonal produce and then be at home at the same time drying the maize.
Ghana has a shortfall in maize production of about 9% to 15% of national requirements, and that is projected to increase, according to Ghana's Millennium Development Authority. Maize contamination by aflatoxins is a danger to public health, besides its serious implication on the crop as a potential export commodity. So what are authorities doing?
This is where we spread the aflasive.
Here is senior agronomist at the United States Agency for International Development, Hansen Agbozo, of the agency's Agricultural Development and Value Chain Enhancement, talks about experimented new chemical interventions.
So this field, as we stand before it, has been treated with aflasive material that is able to work into the soil and neutralize the aflatoxin situation. The mind that the chemical that is released through aflatoxin, which becomes a health issue, is resolved. So USAID is supporting us to do all these things. And this field will be using for all those trusts. At the end of when we harvest, they will subject it to aflatoxin test to know how far the aflasive that we apply to the field has worked. And if it works, that means we can expand the program.
Dr. Marilyn Warburton is a United States Development Agriculture scientist affiliated to the Mississippi State University. She is on a joint mission with local scientists at CSIR to explore ways to address the aflatoxin challenge. They met in Kumasi for a 3-day training session on a topic breeding for aflatoxin resistance, from DNA extraction to data analysis.
So we have created maize varieties that do not make the aflatoxin. They don't get the aflatoxin, but they grow only in our area. So we want those genes that are causing resistance to be moved into maize that will work in growing areas in Ghana. So my colleagues here at the Crop Research Institute will take my maize and will cross it to theirs. They will use the tools that we have developed in my laboratory that will allow my research to be extended to other countries where I couldn't grow things and I couldn't measure things.
Plant breeder at Crops Research Institute, Dr. Alan Opon, leads a team to develop aflatoxin-resistant maize to address the plight of farmers.
And we developed this proposal to develop maize resistant to aflatoxins, and so that it can help improve the export potential and also help increase the yield potential of maize. And since 2015, research has been going on. We've received germplasm, aflatoxin-resistant germplasm. We've been introgressing the resistant genes into our elite genotypes. And then we are also testing those embryo lines themselves and see if they are adaptable to environment. And then we do further developments and possibly release them as varieties for Ghanaian farmers.
It is hoped that some of these interventions will be successful in order to address the long-standing challenge. Prince Apia reporting.
Well, coming up in business in the next minute, research by policy think tank Money Africa points to the fact that Ghana is not making much from the various free trade agreements it has so far entered into. Emmanuel Abuajuyafi will be here with the business news. Stay tuned.
Welcome to business. Now, Ghana has not made much gains from various free trade agreements reached. That's a conclusion from a new trade report released by a policy think tank, Money Africa.
The researchers have been analyzing Ghana's trade agreements over the past decade, including the Interim Economic Partnership Agreement, African Growth and Opportunity Act, and the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme. The research pointed to a persistent trade deficit attributed to several factors. Research associates with Imani Africa, Anita Nkrumah, explained some factors impeding trade.
Some of the challenges that we were able to identify were sanitary and phytosanitary issues. If you all remember, in 2015, around September, there was a ban on exports of vegetables and other products into the EU. And the ban was mostly because of non-compliance of sanitary issues in the EU. So those were some of the challenges, sanitary and phytosanitary issues. Also, we also considered access to credit as a major challenge to exporters, not only exporters, but generally SME businesses in Ghana. We also highlighted some of the trade challenges, which encompass congested ports, bad road networks, high dwell times at the port, and all of that.
Imani Africa, among others, is urging government to review its trade and export strategies in order to maximize its benefits as well as improve standards.
We recommend that when it comes to the sanitary and phytosanitary issues, it would be great if we could have a standardized system. So, for example, if we export pepper into the United States, it would be great if we start inculcating these standards into the local market. So when it comes to measurement, in Ghana, you go to the market and you tell the market seller, I want to buy pepper 1 cedi. But we don't have already packaged pepper, onions, cassava. If we inculcate those standards into our markets, standardization in terms of measurements, in terms of the sanitary issues, it would help prepare exporters better, and it will also open the market for more exporters. Because if I grow tomatoes in Ghana and I sell it within the local markets and I go through similar standards, I will not be afraid to join the export market.
Ghana's trade deficit as of 2016 stood at $1.7 billion.
Lending rates charged by commercial banks on loans are expected to decline significantly by the end of this year. This follows the decision by government to deploy electronic services at many state institutions across the country. That's according to the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, speaking at the launch of the e-certificate system introduced by the Registrar General's Department. He said the government is keen on modernizing many sectors of the economy to improve the ease of doing business.
The Registrar General's Department has successfully implemented the online registration of companies as well as the authorization of operations of businesses. These functions are supported by a number of services online, including the e-shop, which allows company searches, reservation of company names, and the booking of marriage ceremonies, among others. In a keynote address to launch the system, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said government is keen on modernizing many sectors of the economy to improve the ease of doing business.
Financial inclusion with interoperability will make more unbanked Ghanaians come into the banking sector. The formalization of this economy with all of this will start to have an impact on interest rates as banks see that the risks that their customers pose will begin to reduce. His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's administration has embraced this digital transformation and will lend support to ensure the smooth operation of this process for improved customer satisfaction.
Later on, in an interview with Joy Business, Registrar General Jemima Oware said this should be a relief to many potential business investors.
Up there and I watched the frustration of our various clients coming to our offices, and for one reason or the other, they are not able to get their certificates on time. This is a relief for me. It ensures that wherever you are in this part of the world, not even only in Ghana, you can get your electronic certificate as long as you complete the process end to end. And so you don't need to come through the traffic and meeting all those guru boys to get a certificate. Just sit at home, go through the process, pay online, and then electronically can print it out.
What happens to the villages? What happens to them? And there's no Registrar General's office as well?
Well, we have regional offices, at least in 4 regions. For now, you know, we have Sekondi Takoradi, we have Kumasi, we have Tamale, and then currently Sunyani. We're opening an office there next year. So for those with that kind, they might have to go to the regional offices to access our services. But in time, we intend to roll out this service at least to business centers.
Jemima Oware further called on government institutions to accept the electronic certificate as a valid document in transacting business.
Now, insurance industry players are being urged to explore innovative ways of deepening insurance penetration in the country. Speaking at the first National General Insurance Conference held in Accra, the Insurance Commissioner, Justice Ofori, emphasized the adoption of new technologies that will help Ghana's insurance sector remain relevant and competitive. Here's more in this report.
The conference attracted several players in the insurance sector who deliberated on new ways of becoming relevant in the changing trends of information technology. Insurance Commissioner Justice Ofori says adopting technology could help increase productivity in the sector.
Some of the statistics that I keep on hearing these days are that less than 20% of the Ghanaian population have some kind of insurance. And also, about 30% of vehicles on our roads are not insured. Now, while I cannot vouch for these statistics, I think they help us understand the picture out there that we all face. A priest once told me that the work of the insurance industry is like the work of the church, because we all try to bring someone who has gone through some unfortunate experience back to his pre-loss condition. All of us here, especially those of you who are my contemporaries or older, would agree with me that life is full of the unexpected. These unexpected events can adversely affect us, whether we are insurance practitioners or priests. So the knowledge and access to insurance products can be restored to this market to bring some dignity.
President of the Ghana Insurance Association, Aretha Duku, decried the low insurance penetration rate in the country. She believes the digitization of the sector will go a long way to boost public confidence.
In the face of social media proliferation, digitization, and technological advancements, the insurance industry cannot afford to remain unconcerned. Business innovation is the key to survival in these times. Insurance companies must take advantage of the speed, effectiveness, and efficiency that comes with these changes, at the same time keeping an eye on the disruption associated with technology and digitization.
On behalf of the Finance Minister, technical advisor at the ministry urged industry players in the sector to employ best practices to prevent some interferences from external forces.
the GIA has a fundamental responsibility to self-police and deal with rogues in the industry, and to also ensure that members do what is right in order to prevent undue interference from the regulator. I am optimistic that delegates will come out with viable suggestions for ensuring an effective self-regulatory regime in Ghana. The Ministry of Finance will continuously work with the regulator to closely monitor developments so that risks in the market are identified and appropriately managed to ensure sanity in the insurance industry, thereby improving the image of the industry.
The conference was under the theme Transforming the General Insurance Industry in Ghana through Self-Regulation, Financial Capacity and Business Innovation.
Meanwhile, the Insurance Commissioner, Justice Yaufori, is urging industry players in the sector to focus on introducing special insurance packages for the sector. In an interview at the sidelines of the first National General Insurance Conference, the Insurance Commissioner emphasized that focusing on agric will go a long way to boost performance of the sector.
It's a matter of studying, doing some research, knowing what the people need, and then designing something that fits their needs. That way, I think we can actually talk about penetration. We also have to look at agric insurance. Agric insurance, we know that majority of our population deals in agriculture, but agric insurance is not actually well known to the Ghanaian population. So I think it's somewhere that we have to hit hard to encourage people to know that there's some protection and that they can always fall on agric insurance.
That's all we have for you by way of business tonight. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Emmanuel Apuaji Riafi. There's more news ahead. Don't go away.
Minister of Communications, Esther Ewusu-Ekoful, has vowed to ensure that the National Communications Authority continues to enforce its laws on regulation of spectrum. The NCA last month sanctioned some 131 radio stations for breaching various aspects of the Communications Act, leading to a revocation of the licenses of some, with others retracting hefty fines. Delivering a statement before Parliament, the minister revealed she had received petitions from some of the stations and intends to consider them on a case-by-case basis. The minority MPs, however, believe the fines are excessive and have been fighting back. There's more in the following report.
The NCA's sanction of radio stations is one issue that caught the attention of many, including minority legislators who described the move as harsh with the potential of causing loss of jobs. Ningo Prampram MP Sam George proceeded to file a statement on the matter, but it wasn't admitted by the Speaker. Delivering her statement, Communications Minister Esther Ewusu-Ekoful revealed some affected stations have petitioned her office on the matter.
Mr. Speaker, the same law that gives the NCA the power to sanction gives the minister, me, the power to review the sanctions when petitioned. I have received some petitions on this matter, and they will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. I am inclined to deal a little leniently with the community radio stations, but even they will pay a significant fine. All these stations must demonstrate their willingness to respect and obey the rules going forward. Mr. Speaker, we must acknowledge and applaud the NCA for having the guts to take this decision and encourage other agencies to do same.
Minority members then took turns to contribute to the statement. While some described the sanction as excessive, others called for mercy.
Right, Honorable Speaker, in ending, I will give you a typical example of some of the arbitrariness that has been shown by the NCA in the application of its punitive action. The Gazette document, the schedule of penalties, of fees, it was gazetted on the 25th of April 2015. But you see the NCA using and that Gazette, one, must be put on record, was not approved by this House. But even if we forget about that, right, Honorable Speaker,
you are a seasoned lawyer, and you know, Right Honorable Speaker, as many other lawyers in this chamber, that the laws of Ghana prohibit a retrospective application of laws.
Let us not engage in actions that will kill them. Let's rather support them. It is not for nothing that in enacting the law, there was a proposal to set up a fund, an investment fund, so that with that fund, we can support these establishments. So I appeal to the Minister for Communication that the ongoing effort to clamp down on certain radio stations, and of course, some of them, because of their previous notoriety for certain statements that were made on those frequencies, I can understand some motivation. But Mr. Speaker, the truth of the matter is that this is not going to bode well for freedom of expression in this country.
We're told that some of these gazettes and others and the fee fixing have not come before this house, for this honorable house to give sanction and approval to such fees and levies. So on what score, on what authority? Honorable Member.
MP for Efutu Afenyomakin, however, disagreed with the minority view. He insisted the NCA was acting within the law.
Mr. Speaker, it says to respect the rights, freedoms, and legitimate interests of others, and generally to refrain from doing acts detrimental to the welfare of other persons. Mr. Speaker, should we, in the name of free speech, allow radio stations to act irresponsibly? No. Should we, in the name of free speech, allow people to do anything detrimental to others? No. Mr. Speaker, when the issue of Muntie 3 arose, the Supreme Court did not limit itself to the conduct. Mr. Speaker, when the issue of Muntie 3 arose, the Supreme Court did not only limit itself to the offending parties. The Supreme Court went the extra mile of inviting the directors of the radio station, and in fact reprimanded them as directors, although they were not directly involved.
The roads minister is expected to answer questions from members of the House on Friday.
Now, there's imminent crisis at the Department of Child Health of the Kolubu Teaching Hospital as the department lacks nurses to care for newborns. Acting head of the department, Dr. Ejri Saki, who has been speaking with JoyNews, says this and many other challenges are making it difficult to effectively deliver quality health care to patients. There's more in this report by Patricia Say.
Patience is a 40-year-old trader and mother of 10-year-old Marianne. Marianne has been diagnosed with cancer. Apart from putting her formal education on hold to allow her go through treatment, Patience explains treatment is expensive and taking a toll on their lives.
It's not very easy. The chemo drugs are very expensive. Though health insurance helps us in some way, but the main chemo drug is very expensive. She has been here for 2 weeks. If I would say I brought 23 Ghana here, 23 Ghana cedis, he left with me 4.5, I would say.
So you brought 2,300 cedis.
Rahina too is also 5 months old. She's suffering from hole in heart, and her mother, who is a seamstress, cannot afford hospital bills. She currently spends all her time in the hospital.
She is suffering from hole in heart. It is very difficult seeing her struggling to breathe. I don't have money. Doctors say she has to travel abroad for treatment. I came to seek help from the doctor.
Acting head of the Department of Child Health at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Adziri Saki admits treatments for such children is expensive and adds that the facility available for parents to lodge in while their children are on admission is woefully inadequate. Most parents come from outside the Greater Accra region and Kumasi because there are no treatment centers outside the two main government health facilities.
It's a very serious condition. The drugs are expensive. There are not many hospitals that provide the service, so many parents have to come from far away. So they have to come and live here, and which means that they need money to look after themselves. There is a need for the basic infrastructure to be there and for the consumables to be obtained, and then when people come in, they will be able to buy it and go. So the failure is on two levels. One is a national level, and then even when it's bought, the parents can't afford to buy it. In terms of newborn care, I think one of our biggest shortages is of nurses. We don't have enough nurses to look after the babies.
To bring support to the Department of Child Health, Noble Touching Lives Foundation Ghana, an NGO, donated some items and additional 10,000 Ghana cedis cash to support the department in dealing with such cases.
The absence of a resident obstetric gynecologist at the Asante Mampong Municipal Hospital in the Ashanti region is raising life-threatening concerns. Emergency cases, depending on how complex they are, have to be booked for a visiting obstetric specialist on Fridays or transfer. Also, the lack of general surgeon and eye specialists and obsolete medical equipment are making it increasingly difficult to save lives in the referral hospital, which serves over 100 communities. Love News' Erastus Asaridonko has been assessing the situation there in our reports.
The Mampong Municipal Hospital, built over 40 years ago, receives over 50,000 patients annually. It serves as a referral point for about 5 districts in the Ashanti region, serving more than 100 communities. Space is not one of its challenges. The hospital boasts of a 69-bed maternity unit, over 110-bed capacity wards, nurses' space, and other underutilized spaces. The facility's headache stems from inadequate specialist staff, obsolete laboratory, and theater equipment.
The total staff strength for medical officers in general is 5 of them and 1 dental surgeon. Yeah. And then I must add that we have 1 visiting gynecologist who always come here on every Friday.
Emergency cases, depending on the complexity, will have to wait for a specialist.
As a referral facility in the whole of Mampong municipality and the adjoining district, if we don't have a resident specialists in ONG, it means that the cases that we have been receiving here, especially the complicated one, have to find their way out to Konfanochi, and that will create a lot of inconvenience to the clients that access health service here.
So, out of 104 referrals done as of September this year, 34 were obstetric cases. 8 of them needed urgent support. As of September this year, the Mampong Municipal Hospital had recorded 123 deaths, 2 maternal deaths, and 3 children under 5. The hospital also recorded 35 stillbirths within the same period. Though hospital officials cite ruptured uterus, intrauterine deaths, irregular antenatal visits, and other complications as cause of maternal and child deaths, they indicate an urgent need for a specialist obstetric gynecologist.
Some of the cases are really complicated. So if we had specialists here, then they would take care of the complicated ones. You see, because most of the time we are forced to take care of these complicated ones.
The hospital also badly needs a general surgeon and eye specialist to boost health delivery. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
Elsewhere, eye care specialists have expressed worry about the increasing cases of cataract, glaucoma, and refractive error eye conditions in the Volta region. The Volta Regional Chairman of the Ghana Optometric Association, Dr. Kenneth Aja, says this development could negatively affect productivity in the region if not dealt with. Speaking at the association's 5th annual general meeting in Ho, Dr. Aja implored government to increase logistics and human resource to improve eye care in the region. Fred Kwame Asari's report.
Only 25 ophthalmic nurses, 10 optometrists and 9 optical technicians are 13 private and public eye care facilities in the Volta region. The Volta Regional Chairman of the Ghana Optometric Association, Dr. Kenneth Aja, said it had become necessary to have an optometrist as there is currently no specialist in eye and vision care in all of the 25 districts making up the region.
Of the 25 districts, eye care facilities are only available in 13. And optometric services are available in just merely 4 districts. Delivery of general eye care and more especially optometric service is a real challenge to us in Volta region, as almost 50% of our people do not have access to general eye care.
The national president of the association, Dr. Remi Ningpe, lamented that half of the over 200,000 visually impaired persons would not have gone blind if they had had access to proper eye care.
Eye care is as necessary, and I dare to say probably more necessary in healthcare as all others. If you are blind, productivity goes down. We will not belittle any disability, but on my scale of preference, sight would count very high.
In a related development, more than 2,000 residents of the whole West District have had their eyes screened and received medicated spectacles for free. Those who were diagnosed with cataract will undergo free surgery at the Volta Regional Hospital in Ho.
Now, as they come there and one of my eyes is worrying me, and I go to the screening, I hope it's very beneficial to me, and I hope they can extend it to the other parts of the country so that each and everybody can enjoy this.
The eye screening exercise was organized by the Ghana Optometric Association together with the District Assembly. Fred Kwame Asari's report for Joy News.